Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Coral Highlands. Arch-Tempered Namielle is here, and I must say, she is a bombshell to hunt. Challenging, annoying, but very satisfying to finish, and it's great to finally see an MR Arch-Tempered monster. So, today we'll be going over her rewards, and specifically her armor and the big talks that people have been mentioning about a bow build possibly. But is it worth it? We'll take a look, but first let's see the armor first and see what all the fuss is about. I will preface this by saying that I am not a speedrunner, nor do I make content intended for speedrunners. This information is really just for the average player to really boost their gameplay and, you know, learn something new every day. That's kind of what I make my content around. First off, I will say that the armor looks fantastic. Love the design. Why Capcom hasn't learned to give us layered on day one, I will never understand. Especially when there's already mods out there. But look, it's so flowy. Look at it. It's beautiful. Okay, so the main thing is the element acceleration perk that comes when you're doing constant damage to a monster. So today we're going to compare this one and see how it measures to the current meta of Safi for Kjarr Weapons and Silver Rattlers for the Taroth Weapons. Specifically for Terra, I was just interested because this does have free elements. So I was wondering if this is actually a good build or not. So starting off, the helmet has Stamina Surge level 3, very high recovery and perfect for any mobility class. Evade window on the chest piece, beautiful for jumping around any class that you're using, again to hop around, evade the lance, bow, maybe even the greatsword. Just basically if you aren't super proficient at reading monsters' attacks, this is super helpful. You've also got water attack on this build as well. Alright, moving right along, we also got Marathon Runner, perfect for anything that you're running around. Lance might be a better choice for this, bow not so much. As you can tell by now, this build is hugely mobility wise. Evade extender again, just increasing the distance that you move, in addition to the evade window that we had before of increasing your invulnerability. Last but not least, we do have Constitution on the legs, great for bow builds for sure, but you can eat black belt, and having one physique jewel and adding dash juice at every hunt, you can get the same effects as a max Constitution, and that could honestly save you some jewel slots. Lastly, speaking about jewels, there's not a lot of great jewel slots on this build. The Namielle comes with 4 2s and a couple 4s, that's about it. No single slots, so it's a little bit limited on the jewel side, which may come as a constraint later on when you're trying to add as much attack power as you can, since the build itself doesn't come with anything to boost attack. So for the Namielle element acceleration, you do need 2 pieces. 4 pieces is the best version, and so I tested this build using weapons that are not boosted by any other elements, had max spread jewels, max critical boost, and max free element. So pulling up the Taroth Firebow as an example, with element acceleration on, the average damage turned out to be 46 and 60 for charged shots. That's a single combo dealing about 480 damage, you can see in the top left there, and we compared this to the Silver Rattlers. So the same simple charge combo dealt a damage of 529, so a bit of an increase there. Now again, do keep in mind that there's no extra element boost. I've not added any jewels. It's just the armor boost, spread jewels, and max critical boost. So after comparing these spread combos as well as these combos with Safi armor and Safi plus Namielle armor, I still found that for Taroth Weapons, the Silver Rattlers build was still a better option for damage. I'm honestly not even too sure if it's even worth to switch one part out of the Silver Rattlers sets. You may be able to try maybe the Namielle boots for the Constitution, but that depends on your builds, guys, and if you think it's worth losing a couple jewel slots for. So, moving on to Kjarr Weapons, they become a little more complicated, as many of you may know. The critical element does not stack with the true critical element of Rathalos armor. So as of yesterday, really the meta has been this 3 Safi, 2 breaky kind of set. And that's primarily because of the Agitator secret that you get, in addition to the Safi seal elemental boost. Now, even if you aren't using the full breaky Safi set, if you're using just 5 Safi, that's still very good. You've got high damage with the 5 seal. Plus, you also have resentment that should be on every build of your Safi weapons. I don't have the full 5 yet, but if you do, you get an extra 25 attack. So why not? If you're taking damage with every hit because of the Safi seal, you may as well have this on. So with that being said, adding Namielle to the damage meta, there was only one option, having 3 Safis and 2 Namielle sets. And why? Just to keep the Agitator at level 5 while still combining the elemental damage of both these perks. Unfortunately, this combination didn't really work out. For charge shots, it was much lower. For spread shots, it was okay actually. And yes, it kind of matched the 5 Safi set, But again, when you fight a real monster, Agitator is going to push the Safi plus Breaky set over the top. So for overall bow element damage, this Namielle set doesn't add a lot to the meta. Additionally, another issue with the Namielle element acceleration perk is that it's not constant all the time. As you can see here, it takes a couple shots before you can actually get it active again. So those minimum amounts of times of charging, you're losing extra damage, whereas if you have the extra Agitator, you're most of the time going to be able to knock a monster and then put them in an active state. So if you want to know my overall thoughts, honestly the Namielle set isn't the most amazing. It's not a life-changing or game-changing set. It's great if you want to use it for survivability, combining even the 2 with the 3 Safi, or just going all 4 parts with Namielle will get you so much jumping around. It's going to be so much fun and you will probably not even get hit. Quite honestly, for a bow, it's not the biggest loss. Certain shots, maybe 1 or 2, can be up to 15% damage loss, but most of them are 4 to 6. And with that being said, do keep in mind that bows are heavily customizable. You can add element jewels to boost your damages, so while you may not have the most base damage, you may still be able to build a great bow overall. And keep in mind that you will be able to move around a lot more, so if you want to equal out the damage, maybe you should just be focusing on getting as much damage as possible, moving around, positioning yourself in the right spot, and keep constantly damaging. The last thing I do want to reiterate that if you're thinking Namielle is a great set for stamina, you can also substitute this by eating up for Black Belt. Black Belt is great. Adding 1 Constitution to your build and Dash Juice, you're basically getting the same perks as a 5 Constitution. So you might be saving some jewels if you just replace that with the eating. But if you're still looking for max damage, the Safi Braki is still one of the best ones for your Kjarr Weapons, and the Rathalos is still great for the Taroth Weapons. So ladies and gentlemen, that's my opinion and quick rundown of the Namielle armor. Doesn't beat the bow meta, but you can still incorporate some parts. Hopefully you guys learned something, enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one. Ska Sensei is out.